Divine Mother Day. We've just decided it's Divine Mother Day. So our meditation also was very sweet with the mother, and also now let's try to connect more with that mother aspect of God, the Divine Mother aspect. The chapter which we are going to read and discuss today, that's also very sweet, very devotional, and that is where Yoganandaji learns about the sweetness of the Divine Mother. So I think let's already start getting in tune. Let's chant together Mother's name, Om Kali. Om Kali, Kali, Om Kali, Om Kali, Om Kali, Kali, Om 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 Kali, Kali, Om 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 Kali, Kali, Om Kali, Kali, Om 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 Om Kali. And beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahasaya, Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, Swami Shri Yukteswar, our beloved Guru, our beloved Paramhansa Yogananda, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints and sages of all traditions, saints and sages of all traditions, humbly we bow at your feet, humbly we bow at your feet. Divine Mother, Divine Mother, we are all gathered here today. We are all gathered here today to deepen our understanding, to deepen our understanding of the great ancient teaching, of the great ancient teaching. May we be able to learn and practice with Master's guidance and blessing, with Master's guidance and blessing, all that Divine Mother has to share with us, all that Divine Mother has to share with us. We will, with our faith, devotion, with our faith, devotion, and willingness, do everything possible, to find our way, open our hearts, follow Divine Mother, hold her hand, and walk with her, in case of any confusion, in case of any dilemma, walk with her towards infinity. Om. Let's sing another chant, taking it into a brief meditation. This chant is words and music by Sri Paramahansa Yogananda. Who tells me thou art dark, O my Mother Divine? Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Tells me thou Mother Divine, who tells me thou art Mother Divine, thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Who tells me thou art Mother Divine, who tells me thou art the divine thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. Tells me thou art the divine, who tells me thou art the divine, thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Who tells me thou art the divine? Who tells me thou art the divine? Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands suns and moons from thy body do shine. Who tells me thou art the divine? Who tells me thou art the divine? Thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. Suns and moons from thy body to shine. कौन कहता तू है काजू जगदम्बे कौन कहता तू है जगदम्बे लाखों रवि चंद्र तेरी काया से न चमकते लाखों चंद्र तेरी काया से न चमकते कौन कहता तू है जगदम्बे कौन कहता तू है जगदम्बे लाखों रवि चंद्र तेरी काया से न चमकते चंद्र तेरी चमकते Who tells me thou art the divine? Who tells me thou art the divine? Thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. Other divine, who tells me how Other divine, thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body to shine. who tells me how other day thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. Who tells me thou art another day? Who tells me thou art? As we meditate briefly, let's keep going deeper and deeper into our call to Divine Mother. This whole space around us is her body. All the energy of this world, all the light is her flowing hair. Her large eyes, bewitching smile. Let's keep calling to her now.
Well, here we all are. We've been experimenting with this idea in our mind for almost 9 months now, because so much has already been said by our dearest Narayani and Surjo in the whole series that they covered on the autobiography of the Yogi. So honestly, you are all our brothers and sisters, and we all go back a long way. So we can be very transparent about this with you. We were not quite sure whether this makes any sense for us to go through this once again. And not just that, whether we'll be able to live up to the divine standards which have been left by Narayani and Shojo when they were covering the series. But still, uh, what we felt was going back to this book is timeless inspiration for all of us again and again. And it's not just about going through this book once. If people can read this book once every year, which we know that Steve Jobs and many people do, then why not try to go through the inspiration also every now and then, even though so much has already been said about this wonderful scripture. So yeah, we thought let's experiment with this. Uh, maybe you will know we are not going live with this yet. We are not broadcasting this online because we were not sure how this is going to go. But if the inspiration flows through properly, maybe we'll put it up online later on. The only way in which we will try to do this a bit differently is that we will not really go sequentially. We will pick up any chapter which we feel will inspire us and all of us here in this room, because really every chapter is a scripture in itself. You can read that independently and you can have so much of a deeper understanding on all the aspects of God. That's how I like to look at it. So some chapters focus on wisdom, some chapters focus on love. There are other chapters which focus purely on bliss, or at least that's the feeling which awakens within all of us when we read that. And accordingly, today we thought we will try to focus on chapter 9, which is the blissful devotee and his cosmic romance, which is a lot to do with our relationship with the divine and devotion, which is what Master was all about.
Yeah. Um, so this book is our go-to book for all of us. Many of us read it at least a few times a year, maybe. And so we thought, let's just forget about living up to any standards. We'll just enjoy ourselves, and we'll just together once again go into the inspiration which is eternal, which Master has set forth. This book, when he wrote it in 1946, this book is actually, he calls it his autobiography, but it's not so much his autobiography. It's actually a story of saints. Originally, he titled it Yogi Christs of Modern India. And then later on, the title was changed to Autobiography of a Yogi. So this story is about those saints who touched his life, who he had the good fortune, or maybe they had the good fortune of meeting him. It goes vice versa. And try to see what inspiration Master has brought, because Master and Swamiji, they both were very clear that if a story is being told, it should not be just a story for the sake of sharing something, funny that has happened, or just something. There has to be a meaning behind it. So whichever story of Master which Swami Kriyananda told, or whichever story Master himself told, they all were filled with meaning. If you remember, when first time Master met his Guru Sri Yukteswarji and asked him about his life, he told him 2-3 instances, all filled with meaning and takeaways. I mean, and you will think like, what is happening? But that's about it, because the life, as Master said, our life is about education and entertainment, and hence, while we are getting entertained, getting educated is also important. But while getting educated, getting entertained also is important. So both of them are very important. I would first like to read the last paragraph, or where he says that, trying with poor words to do justice to his benignity, I wonder if Master Mahashay and others among the deep visioned saints whose paths crossed mine knew that years later in a Western land I would be writing about their lives as divine devotees. Their foreknowledge would not surprise me, nor I hope my readers who have come thus far with me. And this kind of summarizes what was happening. People who were meeting him, they knew that there's a greater purpose behind those meetings. And with that, let's come to the chapter itself. This is chapter 9, the blissful devotee and his cosmic romance. The blissful devotee here is Master Mahashay. Master Mahashay was also, maybe we'll come to his background a little later. But first, to give a background as to what was the state of our Guru, Yogananda, as Mukunda, as he was called at that time. What was his state, what he was going through when he actually, what has happened in this chapter happened. So, born in 1893, he was absolutely fond of his mother. And his mother for him was the guiding light, the best friend. He would meditate with her, he would pray with her. She taught her how to pray to Kali, how to pray to God, and every little thing. And then suddenly they were in Bareilly. I think this happened in 1904. They were in Bareilly, and his eldest brother Ananda, who was 21 years old at that time, and his marriage was being organized. The wedding ceremony was preparation was underway, and for that preparation, they had taken a house in Calcutta, because Calcutta was where most of the relatives were. So that's where the wedding was taking place. Mukunda and his father are in Bareilly. They were in Bareilly, and where his father was posted, and they were to go and join later on. And then they rented this house called 50 Amherst Street. That's the address. And it's a 4-story building. When his mother walked up to the house, she had a premonition, a very bad omen. She felt as if the house will devour us. And what happened was that as the wedding ceremony preparations were going on, one of his cousins, Ananta's cousins, he contracted cholera. Their mother, which is Gyan Prabhaji, she tried to tend to him. He passed away. She also contracted cholera. And she was very close to passing when one morning, early morning, near the bedside of Mukunda, suddenly she appeared, a vision he saw, where mother was standing and she was saying, "Come, hurry, come at once, catch the 4 a.m. train and come to Kolkata if you want to see me alive." And she disappeared. He immediately got up, got his guru to move, got his father to immediately get up, but his father was like a logical man as he was. He said, "You must have been dreaming," and he was distraught. And then they took a telegram came in the morning, and then by the time they reached, she had passed away. She passed away on April 26th, which was today's April 27th. So we're very close to that event in terms of when it happened. And our guru was distraught, and he would then go back in Bareilly and would try to. There was a ground near his house where there was a Shioli tree, and every morning he said, "I would undertake a pilgrimage to that tree." He would sit there and he would cry. He was really distraught. But what also happened is that yearning in himself for mother, that yearning also awakened in him that absence for the Divine Mother. And that really led to his devotion getting deepened. Can you pass me that book there? The poems. Yeah. And he has written a beautiful poem where he talks about his mother's eyes. The poem is called "The Two Lost Eyes," or "My Mother's Eyes." He says, "Whence came the black-eyed light flickering in my life a moment? Whither did it flit away? The twilight of many incarnations had glowed in those eyes. Twilight of many incarnations had glowed in those eyes. So there was a much longer connection he had with his mother. Many lights of love dreams had met in the bower of those two eyes, and then only the soulless altar, the lifeless eyes, remained before me. And this great sorrow then started getting transformed into his sorrow for the absence of his divine mother. And he cried, he used to meditate for long hours, he used to cry, he used to yearn for mother. They moved to Kolkata around 1906. And he was, I guess, 13-year-old, 14-year-old when they moved to Kolkata. And as a teenager, he would go to different temples, different saints, which we read here. But one day, he walks into 50 Amherst Street again. And that is where these events are now taking place. This is Master Mahasaya saying, he walks into the room, Master Mahasaya is praying, and he says, "Little sir," in Bengali it's Chotu Mahasaya, "Little sir, please be seated. I am talking to my divine mother." Silently, I had entered the room in great awe. The angelic appearance of Master Mahasaya fairly dazzled me. With silky white beard and large, lustrous eyes, he seemed an incarnation of purity. His upraised chin and folded hands apprised me that my first visit had disturbed him in the midst of his devotions. His simple words of greeting produced the most violent effect my nature had so far experienced. The bitter separation of my mother's death, I had thought the measure of all anguish. Now an agony at separation from my divine mother was an indescribable torture of the spirit. I fell moaning to the floor. "Little sir, quiet yourself." The saint was sympathetically distressed. Abandoned in some oceanic desolation, I clutched his feet as the sole raft of my rescue. "Holy Sir, thy intercession. Ask Divine Mother if I find any favor in her sight." This promise is one not easily bestowed. The master was constrained to silence. Beyond reach of doubt, I was convinced that Master Mahasaya was in intimate converse with the Universal Mother. It was deep humiliation to realize that my eyes were blind to her, who even at this moment was perceptible to the faultless gaze of the saint. Shamelessly gripping his feet, deaf to his gentle remonstrances, I besought him again and again for his intervening grace. And
something here.
yeah.
Now, the relationship between a mother and a child is always very unique. If you look at Mukunda Yogananda's childhood days, Lahiri Mahashaya would appear to him when he had that incident of kite flying with his sister. So many such small instances, and his mother was the one who was always there with him. Men, usually his elder brother and father, were not encouraging of his efforts and of his devotion with Divine Mother, and they would always expect him to be completely practical. You cannot go to the Himalayas, you need to be practical, you need to get married. But it was always his mother, even at a very young age, because she knew that Lahiri Mahasaya had blessed both of them, Yogananda's parents, that Yoganandaji will be born and he will be a spiritual teacher and he will be like a train that will carry many souls towards freedom. So, as a young boy, who did Yogananda ever go to discuss such matters? I'm sure many of us have children here. Anytime a child accomplishes something, he always runs to his mother. Mother, see what I have done. I've done this in class today, or I was able to swim very well today. Somehow there is always this distance between a child and a father, normally speaking. And given that backdrop and the relationship that he shared with his mother, Losing her at a very young age can obviously be so distort for anybody. And now, if you think about it, going back quickly to the chapter when his mother had left her body, at that point in time itself, Yoganandaji prayed a lot to Divine Mother to appear before him. And she did that. And this is what Divine Mother said. It is I who have watched over thee life after life, in the tenderness of many mothers. See in my gaze the two black eyes, the lost beautiful eyes thou seekest. Now, this was one brief appearance that Divine Mother made to Yogananda. After that, life goes on. There were several chapters in between about the levitating saint, about the tiger Swami, about the perfume saint. I think during all of this time, there is not much of a connection that Yoganandaji is feeling with Divine Mother anymore, because that is exactly the reason why he's going from one saint to another, trying to find a way for some saint to help him establish that connection once again. And that is a backdrop with which, when for the first time after a long gap, he comes across Master Mahasaya, and he sees that Master Mahasaya is directly in communion with Divine Mother. He falls at his feet and desperately, with that longing, now is the chance that I will get once again. Maybe it is this saint who will help me once again commune with Divine Mother. And most of you know that Master as a young boy was very persistent. He he would never ever give up. If he set his mind to something, he would make sure that he would do everything possible to achieve that. And this is very interesting, especially in the context of yesterday, for example, we were having a Raja Yoga class and we were talking about contentment. Now, this attitude that we see of Master and we see in many of ourselves, that desperate longing and thirst for something, does that really align with the concept of contentment? Perhaps not. But this is where Master and many saints have said that desire for God is the ultimate desire. In front of that, all the other desires fail. If we think about contentment also in that light or in that vein, in many ways, once you are one with Divine Mother or with God, then and only then will you find contentment and fulfillment of all desires. And unfortunately, for many of us, that longing or that desperate search only comes when we suffer. If life goes on smoothly, do you think we'll have that kind of a longing that Master has for Divine Mother right now? Even though he was a self-realized Master in this incarnation, he had to go through this pain and suffering so that he could teach all of us how do you awaken that divine love for God. Therefore, it's very important that I know it's not easy, but whenever any one of us go through any loss or separation, we have to find a way to see that as a blessing, because those are the moments, whether we like it or not, that awaken that desire in us to find God. And once every part of our body, those moments when we meditate and we say that we want Divine Mother, we want God, that's not enough. You think that is enough to draw a response from the divine? No. Every part of your being needs to want that something for God to be able to respond to you. Otherwise, it's never going to happen. And usually when we suffer, we see every part of our system calling out to God, because there is absolutely no other option only then. So how do we find a way to inspire ourselves on a day-to-day basis to keep that longing and that thirst alive for Divine Mother? That's the most important thing.
Yes, that persistence which you pointed out is I think the key. And Our master was very persistent. When they used to live in Gorakhpur, he would regularly go with his family to meditate at the Gorakhnath temple, the 12th century temple. One day they were busy, nobody went. There was some festivity, and then after the festivities are over, late at night, they started searching for him, and he was nowhere to be found. He's a young boy, less than 10 years old. And then his mother thought he must be there. And then she went there, and there he was in the temple alone meditating. And his parents, even though they were peeved that as a small boy he disappeared without telling anyone, they waited for him to finish his sadhana. And then he came back. And there are many such instances where he's shown his laser focus. And I think this is one of the reasons why these realized masters even go through this period of sadhana. It's not more so much for them, but it's for us to show what it takes, what attitudes, what burning zeal it takes to actually put everything, all our desires, everything, pour that and make it one pointed desire for God. And all that is now, just visualize all this anguish is now coming together at a single focus, and he's found a person who's been just now, he's talking to Divine Mother. And I can't see Mother. No, that's not going to happen. So he is now grabbed onto his feet and he's like, I'm not going to leave you. And he's saying, Chotu Maharaj, please, please quiet, please. And he's like, nothing doing. I don't care if I'm making a ruckus. Please help me. And then finally, I besought him again and again for his intervening grace. And finally he said, I will make your plea to the beloved. The master's capitulation came with a slow, compassionate smile. What power in those few words, that my being should know release from its stormy exile. The power of a saint's words. I mean, all the anguish just goes away by just that. A simple, you can say, promise. It was not even a promise. He just said, okay, I will make that plea, and everything going away. And then he immediately says, sir, remember your pledge. I shall return soon for her message. Joyful anticipation rang in my voice that only a moment ago had been sobbing in sorrow. And then he runs back. What he does is, now the saint has given his blessings. Okay. Now, one attitude is, you could just now sit, okay, I've got the blessing, job done, go have food, and just have a nice sleep, and then again tomorrow go and then pester him again. Some people, especially kids, are good at pestering. But then what he does is, my steps were eager as I returned to my Gorpar road home. Seeking the seclusion of my small attic, I remained in meditation until 10 o'clock. Just that somebody has given me a promise, that doesn't mean that I don't put in my effort. He goes in with that blessing this time, but he sits in the attic, and again now he's calling again and again to Divine Mother. And finally, after this, he gets a response. The darkness of the warm Indian sun was suddenly lit with a wondrous vision. Hallowed in splendor, the Divine Mother stood before me. Her face, tenderly smiling, was beauty itself. Always have I loved thee, ever shall I love thee. The celestial tones still ringing in the air, she disappeared. And in this poem, On His Mother's Eyes, Yoganandaji talks more about this occurrence, where he says, when Mother appeared before him, she said, I stole away those imprisoning two black eyes of his earthly mother, that thou might be free to find those eyes in my eyes and in the eyes of all black-eyed mothers, and that thou might behold in all black eyes shadows only of my eyes. I broke the finite dream made thy mother form of mine, that thou might behold me, thy divine mother, in every form of every soulful woman, and in my infinite cosmic form. And that's what happened to him at that moment when mother finally came. And then he quickly rushes back to his to Master Mahasaya because he had told him, I will come. So he goes back to Master Mahasaya and he tells him this, and very early, huh? The sun of the following morning had hardly risen to an angle of decorum, which means very early in the morning. When I paid my second visit to Master Mahasaya, and then as he goes there, Master Mahasaya opens the door and he says, Sir, I have come very early. He was in a playful mood, so he was hiding his elation. And he said, Sir, I have come very early, I confess, for your message. Did the beloved mother say anything about me? And Master Mahasaya says, mischievous little sir. I can imagine him saying, Chotu Mahasaya. You know Bengali, sir. Not another remark would he make. No, Master Mahasaya bhi kam nahi hai. Apparently, my assumed gravity was unimpressive. Why so mysterious? So evasive? Do saints never speak plainly? Perhaps I was a little provoked. No, he's a child. No, he's like, what is this? Then Master Mahasaya says, must you test me? His calm eyes were full of understanding. Could I add a single word this morning to the assurance you received last night at 10 o'clock from the beautiful mother herself? Master Mahasaya possessed control over the floodgates of my soul. Again, I plunged prostrate at his feet, but this time my tears welled from a bliss and not a pain past bearing. Think you that your devotion did not touch the infinite mercy? The motherhood of God that you have worshipped in forms both human and divine could never fail to answer your forsaken cry. And this he is saying to all of us, that sometimes we feel that, you know, it is the saints who are specially loved by God. They have a special grace. They have a more direct connection. But the fact is, what Master Mahasaya is saying is that Mother is always hearing whatever we are saying. And the more urgent our plea, the more urgent our call to her. And then we can tune into, we can, as Yukteswarji would say, tune our mental instrument and actually tune into her answer. And that answer, I like to believe what the answer she gave to Mukunda, always have I loved thee, ever shall I love thee, is an answer which comes to all of us also. It is just that, and that answer keeps coming to us in small events. Whenever we all have found ourselves in trouble, and somehow we find that either it is emotional or it is something material, and we found ourselves being pulled out of it. That is Divine Mother responding and coming in for our aid. It's just that we tend to not pay attention to them, forget them, and keep getting tossed in this ocean of delusion where we feel we are separate from Mother.
What's also very interesting is Divine Mother already appeared to Master the previous night. Very brief moment, very promising words, and then she disappeared. Uh, that wasn't enough for Master. Naturally, he went back and he was hoping that the plea which he made to Master Mahasaya the previous day, something else is going to happen. And only when Master Mahasaya said that, look, wasn't that enough what you experienced last night, which clearly showed to Mukunda as a young boy that what happened the previous night was as a result of the plea made by Master Mahasaya on his behalf. If so that gave him faith that he knows, although it was Master himself who went back and meditated, but he knew that that divine blessing came to him because of Master Mahasaya's plea and not otherwise. And when I think about, let's say there is this one person that I haven't met for a very long time, and such person, I finally get the opportunity to meet him or her. Let's say I spend, I would get very excited on meeting that person because there was a longing. Then we might want to sit and have coffee for some time. And then we'll spend several hours talking about everything possible on planet Earth. And then little by little, hours and days and weeks go by. And what tends to happen then? there is this too much of familiarity with each other. You tend to then get bored, and then you want to look for other people to come and provide you with the joy and happiness which is really within you. Even in our deep meditations, when we find a contact with the divine in many different ways, like Abhijit also mentioned, right? That deep sense of peace or calm that we feel is an actual contact with the divine. We need to understand that. It's not as if Divine Mother or God is going to come with you, have coffee with you, have lunch with you, is going to spend 24 hours with you. No. You have to make an effort for that to happen. And there is this very interesting story where somebody asked Master, why does not God talk with us? And Master said, if God starts talking to us, we'll probably argue so much with him that he will not want to talk with us. We'll ask him so many questions. Why this? Why that? Why does this happen? We don't listen too much. Even in that incident where I think Yukteswarji met Babaji at the Kumbh Mela, Yukteswarji got so excited on meeting Babaji that he said, okay, give me a moment, I'll come back and get some prasad for you.
That was in Kolkata.
That was in
Serampur.
Serampur.
Yes. After he's finished his book.
And by the time he went back, I think Babaji had disappeared. And the explanation which was given is that your restlessness, even in that excitement, was too much. And that happens with us very, very often. So it's just interesting to kind of try and hold on to that calm feeling of divine connection that we feel in our meditation for as long as possible if we want Divine Mother to be with us for as long as we can.
Who was this simple saint, whose least request to the universal spirit met with sweet acquiescence? His role in the world was humble, as befitting the greatest man of humility I ever knew. Now, this was Master Mahasaya, of course. His name was Mahendranath Gupta. He was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans. He wrote the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna under the pen name M. And even though he was highly evolved, we can see, I mean, he's always communing with Divine Mother, but he was very humble. In that 4-story house, he was running this high school for boys. And there are many things which are not discussed here, but and that is also his humility, which I think Master also honored. When Master Mahasaya moved into this Amherst house, he realized that this house was kind of haunted. There was a ghost who was there in the house, and that's why a lot of things that were anyways going to happen, tragedies, were attracted to this house. And so even before his mother and cousin passed away, other deaths had also happened. But he prayed to Mother and got that soul released who was trapped in that house. He also helped Master have a vision of his mother again, Master and his younger brother. And so healing at various levels came to him. And there is what is humility? Humility is not even thinking about yourself. That is humility. Humility is not thinking, oh, I'm so humble, right? It's lack of ego. That's actually what true humility is. And that is what is displayed here. Here, Master says that one day when he went to meet him, Master says, "Sir, please wear this champak garland I have fashioned specially for you." I arrived one evening holding my chain of flowers, but shyly he drew away, repeatedly refusing the honor. Perceiving my hurt, he finally smiled consent. "Sir, we are both devotees of the Mother. You may put the garland on this bodily temple as offering to her who dwells within." His vast nature lacked space in which any egotistical consideration could gain foothold. And here is a photo of Master Mahasaya. I think most of us have seen it, but large white beard and angelic face. And being a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, he would take Master frequently to Dakshineshwar temple. Master and his friends would anyways go to Dakshineshwar temple, but with him, he then realized that deep connection, that depth with mother.
What's also interesting is that somewhere during this time, Master Mahase tells him very clearly, I am not your guru. He shall come a little later. Through his guidance, your experiences of the divine in terms of love and devotion shall be translated into his terms of fathomless wisdom. And I'm sure we all know what that means. Because he, in the very next chapter, he meets Swami Sri.
So it is very interesting that this chapter of deep devotion comes just before Master finally meets his guru, and that is where the refinement in wisdom starts. But till now, this is going as deep as he can with Master Mahashaya in devotion with Divine Mother. So imagine when he meets his guru, he's already communing with Divine Mother. He's already, I mean, if I feel if a Divine Mother was talking to me, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. But apparently the journey goes on. So let's not look too far. I think one step at a time.
And what it's so sweet that you have this boy who comes to you and you give him the experience of the divine. But saints, like Master Mahase and all saints are so humble when they say that I am not your guru. It is their purpose to direct devotees to their true guru. And the play of Leela is so interesting. Like Abhijit said, Master Mahase was Ramakrishna Paramahansa's disciple. Vivekananda was also Ramakrishna Paramahansa's disciple. There is this devotee of Master called Mr. Dickinson, who first went to watch Swami Vivekananda's lecture in 1893 when Master was born. So that's the time when Mr. Dickinson first went to Vivekananda's lecture in that, I think, World Religion of Congress or something like that. And then over time, of course, he felt that Vivekananda was his guru, but Vivekananda told him that you will find your guru much later and he will give you a silver cup. So years go by and Mr. Dickinson then comes to Master, I think, somewhere in the 1920s, maybe 1925. And he accepted Yogananda to be his master. And over the years, he still had that longing that my guru is going to give me a silver cup. But then, of course, he continued to follow his teaching. In 1936, when Master came back from India, 11 years later, when he was giving gifts to all the devotees, that's when Mr. Dickinson opened the gift and saw that it was a silver cup. So you see how beautifully intertwined the play of Leela can be. The timing of Yogananda's birth, along with the same year when Vivekananda was giving his lecture, and we often question and think about what is the role of different masters. Vivekananda ji went to US first, Yogananda ji went later. Were they related? Did they talk to each other? Well, does it really matter when we have such a deep divine connection between all the masters that manifests itself in such ways?
And now he's there standing in front of the image of Kali. We entered the 9-dome temple of Kali, where the figures of the Divine Mother and Shiva rest on a burnished silver lotus, its 1,000 petals meticulously chiseled. Master Mahashaya beamed in enchantment. He was engaged in his inexhaustible romance with the beloved. As he chanted her name, my enraptured heart seemed shattered into 1,000 pieces. And that's how we should be praying to Mother, right? When we are chanting, Master said, chant with feeling, chant as if the Mother is standing right in front of you and you are actually saying those words. Don't absent-mindedly just join others in just saying those words. And when we chant that way, then something starts changing. And of course, if we can have a saint like that chanting with us, then great. But if not, then Divine Mother is already there or with us, and let's do our best. And he held him in such high regard that Master would say he can serve as an earthly prototype for the very angels of heaven. From him, I learned the sweetness of God in the aspect of mother or divine mercy. The childlike saint found little appeal in the father aspect. The father aspect was more dear to Jesus. He would always pray, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. But yes, for Master and for Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans and many devotees, especially in India, because the mother aspect is more recognized. It's a more maybe a subtle aspect um, of godhood. And Master has said that if you pray to mother, it's more easy to please God in the form of mother, because mother is constrained. If you take God as mother and say no, you have to come, and then if you're adamant about it like a small child, then she has to respond. There's no, she can't do anything about it. Should we continue? I think there is just a little bit left.
Let's ask everyone.
5 more minutes. Yeah. And there is and again, it comes time and again that these saints would keep on imparting, if they see any flaw, if they're with you and if they see any flaw in your understanding, in your devotion, they would immediately correct. Now here, there's a very apt explanation. Another day found me walking alone near the Howrah station. I stood for a moment by a temple, silently criticizing a small group of men with drum and cymbals who were violently reciting a chant. How undevotionally they use the Lord's divine name in mechanical repetition, I reflected. I mean, we also go through that. No? You know, things he also, this guy who is doing, he's not meditating properly, he's not devotional, he's not what kind of person he is. No? I reflected. My gaze was astonished by the rapid approach of Master Mahashay. Sir, how come you are here? This is the question he asks. The saint, ignoring my question, answered my thought. Isn't it true, little sir, that the beloved's name sounds sweet from all lips, ignorant or wise? He passed his arm around me affectionately. I found myself carried on his magic carpet to the merciful presence. And I think this is something which Saint Francis also emphasized a lot. He emphasized on devotion, but then he always said, above everything else, no judgment. Please do not judge anyone else. And I think in this definition also, we should include ourselves as well. So let's not judge others, but let's not be too harsh with ourselves also. Yes, we need to self-criticize, be a critic. But as in Gita, Shri Krishna says, everybody is acting on the basis of their admixture of the 3 gunas, which means the lives that we have lived so far, we have accumulated, whatever we have accumulated in our subconscious, sanskars we may call them, and they are forcing, so to speak, a person to act in a certain way. Things are happening to us in a certain way because of that past momentum, and let's give that quarter of space to everybody to act in that way.
And sometimes we don't pay enough attention to every word which has been said in this book, but everything is full of deeper meaning. So when he says, I found myself carried on his magic carpet to the merciful presence. Now think about this image. We know that any form of judgment comes from a lower state of consciousness that we find ourselves in. Just by the presence of Master Mahasaya at that time, his consciousness was lifted in a way that there is no such space for judgment or jealousy or hatred, those kind of likes and dislikes that we often talk about, right? And that is exactly why this one simple sentence, but so full of meaning. Of course, we're not talking about him being physically carried away in that carpet, right? So it's just symbolic of how suddenly you find your consciousness so uplifted that there was no space for judgment anymore to the merciful presence, as Master said.
Yes, it is. And actually, it all boils down to the consciousness. As Jyotishji, when he was here, he said that when we come, the only thing we bring is our consciousness. And when we go back, that's the only thing that we take back. And consciousness is the solution, whatever may be the problem. I think Peggy Dietz, one of the direct disciples of Yoganandaji, she had a unique trouble. Her trouble was staying in the body. She used to, as soon as she will meditate or go to sleep, she would jump out into the astral world. And there she found many difficulties, which ultimately she realized that whatever problems that you face, the solution is not going through that problem. The solution is focusing on God. And she realized that if I forget about what the problem is, once she got stuck astrally somewhere and she was not able to come out. And as she started focusing on God and taking God's name, she became lighter, it became easier. And that's what happens. Whatever the problem may be, if we can work on our consciousness, and this is something which Swami Kriyananda and Yogananda ji's life, we can see that whenever they were faced with a problem, the first thing that they did was not think about the problem, not think about solutions, they would first meditate. You will find this in this book again and again. Faced with a problem, his sister had called him, I think Nalini, and she had a problem. She was facing a problem. And what did they do? They sat together and they meditated. They didn't discuss the problem. They didn't put out 5 solutions and they didn't make a flow chart. They first meditated. And then the solution came immediately. And that is something if we can apply in our daily lives as much as possible. Very practical, valid, most practical tools. So spirituality, some people think is all about focus. Actually, spirituality is more practical than maybe practical living. Here there is another example where Master Mahasaya tells Mukunda that his master, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, said that whenever you come to a body of water, sit and meditate. Because in water, just as everything gets reflected, so as you still your consciousness, the whole universe can get reflected and you can get a clear picture of the truth.
And he explained it also very well. So when they come across a body of water, he says, here its placidity reminds us of the vast calmness of God. As all things can be reflected in water, so the whole universe is mirrored in the lake of the cosmic mind. So my Gurudeva often said. And again, I mean, whatever wisdom he's sharing with Yogananda, he always talks about my Guru told me so. And just his own soul, there were absolutely no ripples in his heart, due to which Master Mahasaya was able to reflect Divine Mother in all its purity and form, which is why in the description that Master gave about Mahasaya earlier in the chapter, very simple, beautiful, lustrous eyes. So every aspect of your personality, including your body, starts to reflect that pure consciousness because of there being no ripples in the surface of the water of his heart. And of course, we have this physical example here where he tells Master, we must meditate next to a body of water.
And I think maybe we can end with this very sweet. He tells Master that, would you like to see a movie? It was called Bioscope then. And Master was like, of course, being with you is such a privilege. Whatever, it's fine. And they go and what was that movie? It was a professor's lecture, and Master was never an ideal student. And he was like, oh, what is this? Okay, he was trying to stay cheerful, because Master Mahasaya is there and he didn't want to hurt his heart. But then immediately Master Mahasaya says, I see, little sir, that you don't like this bioscope. I have mentioned it to Divine Mother. She is in full sympathy with us both. Such a sweet continuing dialogue with that merciful presence. It's not that we can talk to God, or we should talk to God only when we are praying or meditating. It's a part of, just like we breathe, God is always there with us, and little things also we can take to her. She's our mother. Mujhe acha nahi lag raha hai, Ma, what to do? She is in full sympathy with us both. She tells me that the electric lights will go out and won't be relit until we have a chance to leave the room. And as his whisper ended, the hall was plunged to darkness. And both of them escaped from there quickly. I think we should also learn a very practical lesson that when opportunity presents itself, capture it. Just like when Yogananda ji found Master Mahasaya, he grabbed him. He said, now I'm not letting go of you. When light went out, they both disappeared quietly. And then something very profound happened. As little sir, you were disappointed in that bioscope, but I think you will like a different one. The saint and I were standing on the sidewalk in front of the university building. He gently slapped my chest over the heart. A transforming silence ensued. Just as the modern talkies become inaudible motion pictures when the sound apparatus goes out of order, so the divine hand, by some strange miracle, stifled the earthly bustle. The pedestrians, as well as the passing trolley cars, automobiles, bullock carts, and iron wheeled hackney carriages, were all in noiseless transit. As though possessing an omniscient eye, I beheld the scenes which were behind me, and to each side, as easily as those in front. The whole spectacle of activity in that small section of Calcutta passed before me without a sound. Like a glow of fire dimly seen beneath a thin coat of ashes, a mellow luminescence permeated the panoramic view. My whole body seemed nothing more than one of the many shadows, though it was motionless, while the others flitted mutely to and fro. Several boys, friend of mine, approached and passed on, though they looked at me directly, they couldn't recognize him. The unique pantomime brought me an inexhaustible ecstasy. I drank deep from some blissful fount. And suddenly my chest received another soft blow from Master Mahashay. The pandemonium of the world burst upon my unwilling ears. So, saints have that power, and especially the more we can attune our consciousness with a saint's consciousness, and especially if you have a guru, like we have our gurus, if we can attune our consciousness with their consciousness as much as possible, that power starts flowing through us. And one way of experiencing it is when we meditate, the more we feel in tune, the days when we feel more in tune, the meditations feel as if we are soaring. But that also happens in daily life, where if we are in tune, then that inner voice which guides keeps guiding us through the day. Now, whether we are in office, whether we are at home, whether we are with children, that inner light, that inner voice, that always it tells you, that feeling is always there, which tells you whether this is the right course to do or not, whether this chant is the right chant to do right now or not. And it's a extremely beautiful, it's like, I think it's like a beginning of the first chapter of the divine romance with the infinite, which, as Master has said, it keeps on becoming more and more engrossing as we go deeper and deeper.
And Master Mahasaya could have easily continued bestowing the experience of Samadhi to Yogananda. But as we said earlier, that was not meant to be, because the purpose of Master's life in that incarnation was very clear: to go to the West and share the teachings of Kriya Yoga. And it was Yukteswarji who was commissioned to perform that role. And at the right time, Yukteswarji had to give Master the experience of cosmic consciousness. And that's the reason why this particular experience was very limited, just to give him a hint of what it could feel like. And of course, we know that Master could have carried on and pursued on the path of Bhakti Yoga and be one with Divine Mother. But somehow that could not work in the West. He could not dance around the streets of America talking about Bhakti Yoga, which is why Yukteswarji had to come, transform his devotion and balance that with wisdom, and of course, infuse that into Yogananda so much that people would be receptive. People, masters actually make the effort to share the teachings in a way which would be receptive to all of us. So it's just, again, every time we read the book, it just transforms us back in time and space to all those moments.
And I especially like to read a little bit, which is not there in the autobiography, to get a more context of, okay, what is actually taking place around the events that are there. And we've tried to share some of that, and hopefully, I think we've gone way ahead of time, but thank you so much for being so patient. Hopefully we can do that sometime again. Should we do an arati and close it?
Yes. Let's do that.
Please. If you can all please stand up.